Hi guys, and welcome to the War Room and another fantastic Testimony Tuesday. I'd like to welcome you in. I thank you for joining me each Tuesday that you do. I appreciate you subscribing to my YouTube channel and watching it on TikTok or Facebook, whichever social media site that you view, and give your feedback. It's welcomed. Thank you so very much, because you could be doing something else. So this Testimony Tuesday will be coming from a place in my life when I was 11. So I was 11 years old, and I can recall my mom and my stepdad having a huge fight. Not the kind of fight that most people say nowadays, you going back and forth with words and you're saying things mean to each other. This was like a George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather kind of fight in the ring. Only thing is, my mom was not fighting back. She tried, but she was always overthrown. But I can recall them fighting, and he did this often when he felt the need to, or felt insecure, or whatever his issues were. He felt the need to treat her like she was a punching bag. And I can recall that fight. I do recall him beating her up from the back room all the way to the living room to the front door. And we stayed in the projects, Chicago, Stateway Gardens. Many of you don't know about that, but for those of you from Chicago, you know what I'm talking about. They're no longer there anymore. We stayed in the white buildings, because there were white buildings and there were red buildings, and we stayed in the white ones. And those buildings, yeah, I don't want to go back to all of that, but the door was kind of like steel or iron or whatever it was, but I can recall him hitting her so hard that I thought she just wasn't gonna make it. And that particular day, I don't know what the fuss was about that day. Nobody knew anything. Sometimes he was in a good mood, sometimes he just flipped and just felt like it. And I think this was a day he just flipped and felt like it. So as he's doing his little Floyd Mayweather thing with her, he proceeds to grab her by her neck and say, "I'm gonna kill you, and I'm gonna take these kids." So, as a little girl, I'm like, no, I was already going through other stuff. We'll get to that later on. I was already going through other stuff with him. And I'm like, oh no, I instantly got scared. I'm like, I gotta tell somebody. So he choking her to the point to where she's on her last breath. Then he decides to let go, and yada yada yada, all of that. And she goes and cleans herself up and everything. And I'm peeking out the door, and I sneak out the room, and I peek in the bathroom, and I'm just watching her sit on the floor and trying to clean herself up. And I'm just like, I'm telling. I didn't let her hear me say that, but I said, I'm telling somebody. Like, I'm terrified to stay with this man, because he's gonna end up killing you. This is all I'm thinking, is I'm watching her, and I'm crying for her, watching her clean her blood up and everything. And I'm just looking like, my poor mama, I gotta tell somebody, because if I don't tell nobody and she go, then I'm gonna feel guilty. So here I am at 11. That day was over with. I don't want to go into all what happened after that, because it wasn't over for her. It's like he just took a break. So the next day, go to school, and all I could see in my little mind is what just happened yesterday at the house, and trying to figure out what makes this man click like this. Like, we had a little backstory on him. He went to the war, whatever, he served and everything, so we know he had military experience and background. And as I'm older now, I understand that people that go to the war, military, and serve different things like that, they don't come back the same. and some of them do, but they still, their thinking pattern is different from ours. And so I'm thinking to myself, I am going to tell today. So I couldn't focus on my work or anything. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching the clock. And as I'm watching the clock, I'm thinking he beating the heck out of her at home. Or, you know, I could never like focus on being a kid because I was always worried about what he was doing to her. So I start crying because I start reliving what I saw. And what I saw when I saw her in the bathroom. And bell ring, 3:15, ding, bell ring, everybody get up and leave. And I'm sitting there. I'm getting my stuff together and I'm shaking and I'm crying. And my teacher comes over and she says, "Hey, Robin, you okay?" And I'm like, I'm looking at her and she's, "Did somebody messing with you?" You know, because I got picked on in school. Yeah, I got bullied and everything. Must have just had a sign on my back. But we weren't as fortunate as most kids. So we were the targets. That's all I can say. And in the projects, if you were the kids who didn't come outside and you didn't mingle with all the other kids, there was a reason why we didn't come outside. You know, she probably always thought we were going to tell somebody. So we didn't mingle with the other kids, and we, you know, we were the, per se, as they say, the dirty kids of the bunch, or whatever names. They had so many different names for us because we were the kids. Mama kept us well up. She did hair, so she kept the girls. She kept all our hair done. We didn't have the latest clothes, so I guess that's what made us the dirty kids, because we had secondhand clothes. We didn't have Jordans and all the other stuff that all the other kids had, so that made us a target to be talked about and picked on. So back to the teacher asking me, was anybody picking on me, because she noticed that they did that, and I wouldn't say anything back. I wouldn't fight back. I didn't know how, and I was scared because I'm mad at my business and you picking with me. So, you know, I wasn't prepared for stuff like that. So I told her, I said, no, nobody's picking on me. She said, well, what's wrong? And I said, it's my mom. It's something going on in my house and we need help. So the class leaves and she say, okay, you got a few minutes to stay? And I say, yeah. So I'm crying and I'm hyperventilating because I'm like so scared. Scared for two reasons. Scared for one, because I'm telling. Scared two, if I don't tell, something else worse could happen. So I proceed to tell her what he did to her, to my mom yesterday, and what he does on a pretty much regular basis. And she starts, oh my gosh, that's so terrible, and come on. So she get my book bag, get my coat. We go to the office. We go to the office and we get the principal involved. So she begins to tell the principal what I told her. And then she says, the principal says, wait a minute, I'm not going to call the teacher name. Wait a minute, let her talk. Robin, is this true? What's going on? So I proceed to tell her this exact same thing. My story didn't change. I told her what happened yesterday, and then they asked me, does this happen on the regular? I said, yeah, it happens on the regular. And they was like, do he beat y'all and stuff like that? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. And so she says, well, does your mom have a phone? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, but she's at home with him, because that's what we called him. We nicknamed him because we didn't want to say his name, and we didn't want to call him dad anymore. Just called him because that's just what we called him. So I was like, she's at home with him. And she was like, okay, is there anybody else you can call? Of course, like I said, I know my auntie's number. My mom's oldest sister number was programmed in our brain because, hey, that was the place we always went whenever the police were called. And I told you guys that in the last few testimonies that you have to go back and watch. I'm always going to reference the last one, so that when you watch this one, you won't be so behind if you go back and catch up to where we are today. And they're never in a particular order, but I always reference something that I know that I went ahead of time on, so that when you see what I'm saying, you can go back and catch up. So she got the number, and she called my auntie. And the principal proceeds to tell my aunt what I told her and what I told the teacher. And my auntie said, no, I don't think my sister will be allowing that to go on. And she said, well, they said, well, we have Robin here in the office and she's scared. She doesn't want to call home. can you call home and call her mom? And my aunt goes on and say, yeah, oh yeah, I'm finna call. And they was like, okay, well, you can call this number back. So they gave her the school number to the principal's office. She calls my mom. She proceeds to say what they said. She said, well, why is Robin up at the school saying this, that, and the other, and what's going on? Is this something you not telling me? And he ends up, every time the phone rang and it was one of her sisters or somebody that wanted to talk to her, I don't think we had the speaker, because we had that rotary phone, you know, the kind you pick up and you so he would tell her to put the phone, the phone would be in the middle between both of them. So he heard the conversation, he heard everything, and it pissed him off, if I could say that word. It's the only word I got right now out of line. So it ticked him off, and my mom said, I'm finna go up to the school now, I'll handle it. She said, do I need to call back up to the school? She said, no, I'll handle it. I'm finna go up there right now and get her. Because I was late coming home, because of course I stayed behind telling the truth. And it was the truth. It was my truth, and it was the truth. So she gets up to the school and comes to the office, and everything changed. I think my whole world changed after that. Yeah, so she gets to the office, and they talking about what happened, and they was like, we gotta call child services and this, that, and the other. And you know, as a kid, you don't think about all of that. You don't think about what the adults got to go through, and you shouldn't have to, especially if you're in fear. You know, I didn't learn any of that till later, but she proceeds to tell them that Robin has a vivid imagination, and she likes to make up things. And we get on her all the time at home because she's a big liar. Oh my gosh, y'all. When I say my heart dropped, everything in me fell. And I was like, I am? To myself. I was like, I am. I'm a liar. She said, well, Robin, why would you come up here and do that? But the look she was giving me was very stern, like, why you do that? Now we in trouble. And I couldn't understand that look at the time. But now as I'm older and as I've had to talk with my therapist to get through that part, because I think when we had that session, that opened up a whole bunch of doors for me and opened up my mind to understand a lot of things differently than I did when I was a child. Helped me understand some things. And at that time, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about saving her life. This man said he was going to kill her. And all I could hear him say was he going to kill her and he going to keep the kids. And I already knew what that meant. I didn't want to stay with that man. So I'm thinking I'm helping, and I know that wasn't her words saying that. She knew I was telling the truth, but he made sure that she changed her story by the time she got to the school. Yeah, I don't want to go into all of what my perception is or what I think may have been said or done, because I don't really know. I don't know. All I know is what was said when she got there. And my heart dropped, and I was like, well, I know I got a vivid imagination because I can draw, you know, I can imagine things bigger than most people. You know, my mind goes, I used to just imagine things, and I don't mean like crazy, scary things. God called me at 8, so I could see things most people couldn't see. I can understand things most people couldn't understand, but I couldn't explain it. So yes, I did have a vivid imagination, but it wasn't my imagination. That wasn't my imagination. If you live this and you see this every day, it wasn't my imagination. So I couldn't understand why she was saying that. At the time, I couldn't understand, well, maybe he made her. I didn't know any of that. All I just knew was like, oh, she turned on me. And so the principal looked at me and she was like, now, why would you do your mom like that? You know, you could get her in trouble, you know, family service. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And I'm just like, mama, like, I'm asking her to tell the truth, like, what's really going on? Why you can't back me up and say this? I didn't say that to her, but that's kind of the look I gave. And I was also a scary kid, and I had respect for her and him all the way up till I was 16. So I didn't get out of line, and I did not ever try to bust her out, if I can say that, or put her on the spot, or as the kids say, cap, no cap, whatever that means. I never tried to make her look bad. And I did. And it made me feel bad to know that I made her look bad by telling. I couldn't figure out the difference. So the teacher was like, I've been all them tears and you crying, you had me believe it. I was like, so I'm crying hard, and I'm just like listening to what they saying. Now I got them coming down on me, the principal and the teacher. And she was like, so if something happened in the classroom and you tell me, and I used to could come to you for the truth, now I can't. And I'm just looking at her like, please read through these tears. I am telling you the truth. But I couldn't say nothing, because at that point my mom had told me to shut up. So I shut up. Like she said, shut up, I'm gonna shut up. I'm not gonna be over talking her. No. So they was like, okay, you know, called her by last name. I'm trying to be careful with some things. And I was like, okay, well, we'll release her to your hands. And, you know, they was like, if this happens again, we're going to examine her and make sure all is well. And she was like, you ain't got to worry about it. She's just going to come to school and do what she got to do. So we leave. And it wasn't that far from the school. It was like the projects was all around. They were all lined up around. And the school was in the center. I will tell you that I went to Crispus Attucks Elementary School in Chicago. So that's the school I was going to. And the projects was all around it. So it was in the center, and you could just walk the pathway. Once they let you out, you walk the pathway straight to the building. Whether you was going to the white building or you was going to the red building, either way it go, whichever building you were going to, you still had to go across that path, across the street, across that path. So we're walking to the, and that, oh my gosh, it just seemed like the Green Mile. It just seemed like the longest moment of my life. Because I'm walking and I'm crying, and I'm being clumsy and dropping my book bag won't close and stuff falling. I'm picking it up, and she just kept walking, and I'm just like, mama, mama, and I'm calling her name, and I'm trying to get her to talk to me and say something. And I didn't realize as a kid that she was in fear. She already knew what was going to happen when we got back to the house. I didn't know. And then I can't say I was inconsiderate, because as far as I'm concerned, I was just trying to get some help for us. So, but, you know, at that moment, she probably thought I was being considerate. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she was just like, why did you tell? Why did you do that? And I'm like, mama, mama. So I'm trying to get her to talk to me. Just say something. Like, I don't care if you yell at me. Just say something. She didn't say a word. She just kept walking ahead of me. So I finally got my stuff, and I ran up to her, and I grabbed her hand, and she kind of just, it was just like that. So I'm grabbing, thinking, trying to get her to hold it, and it was just like me holding it, just me holding it. And that made me feel so bad and so low, and I was like, I'm in trouble. So I'm thinking I'm gonna get a whooping from both. And I really didn't know what to expect, but my heart was racing so fast, and it had dropped because I knew I was in trouble. Never considered that she was in trouble too. So we got back to the apartment. Got back up to that second floor, because we stayed on the second floor. Never forget that, apartment 202. Know the address and everything, but I'm not gonna go through all of that. We got in the door, and this man, I was gonna say something else. This man was standing at the door. It's like he was waiting behind the door. So he opens the door, mama walks in, and she ducks, you know, because I guess she was her reflex. She thought she was gonna get hit, but he didn't hit her. She ducked, and when I saw her duck, I'm just like, oh gosh, he's gonna beat up again, and this is my fault. I get in the door. He closes the door real hard and grabs me by my hair and throws me on the floor. And I look, and he says, B, drop down. Stay down there and give me 100 push-ups. Because that was our punishment. You know, like I said, military. So he made that our punishment was to do push-ups. Whatever number he felt like us doing that day. And that depended on, I can't even say what we did wrong. I would say how he felt. He knew 100 push-ups was a bit steep for me. Like I said, I was a little frail thing. I was 11, and he made us do the guy push-ups. It wasn't no girl push-ups like on your knees. We had to do full-blown push-ups like the men do it in the army. And our chest had to touch the ground and come back up. But either way it go, that's how we had to do them. And it was just really, really hard. So I had to drop down and do 100 push-ups. And as I'm doing them, he panting back and forth, and he tells her to sit on the couch. Then he walks up to her, and then he just 1, 2, 3, just blow 1, 2, 3, and she get hit, and she trying to explain herself, and he was like, what else do they know? What else do they know? She was like, I told them what you said. I told them what you told me. What you mean what I told you to say? You know, so now he doesn't want me to think that he prepped her, when I know he did, because I know that wasn't her words. And she trying to get him up off of her, and I get scared, so I gets up, and he turns around and curses me out and tells me to get back down, and I stands there like I'm just big and bad, because I'm just standing there like, just don't hit her. And then he slaps me and tells me to get back down, so I get back down. At this point, it draws the attention off of her, which I'm glad, but I had to pay for that. He steps on my hand first, and he had on his boots. So he stepped on my hand, and I'm trying to do my push-ups, and I'm crying, and he like, I don't hear you. So I'm counting out. When I got to 10, he said, start over. So I start over, and I'm counting, and he said, start over. Man, by the time, every time he made me start over, I did about 50 push-ups when he made me start over. So I'm sitting here now, I'm crying, now my arm's getting weak. Now I'm starting to shake. Then he lifts his foot off of my hand and puts it on my back, close to my neck. And he starts to, proceed to verbally abuse me and tell me all kinds of things like, I'm a troublemaker, this, that, and the other, and I'm going to fix you, and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to teach you how to keep your mouth closed and keep the business in the house. And so this whole time I'm just crying, and I'm just like, by the time I get to 35, now, mind you, this would have been 86 by now, because I had did 50. Every time I did 10, he made me start over 5 times, so that's 50. And then by the time I get to 36, I drop, and I can't do anymore. So I calculated that as 86. I had got as close as I could get to 100. So I'm crying, and I'm telling him like, I can't get up. I can't. What you mean you can't? Get up, yelling at me. Then he grabs me by my hair and pulls me up. By this time, my legs weak, my arms weak. I'm like one of them things that at the car lot, they just be like this. So I can't do nothing. And, she's bloody. He won't let her get up and clean herself up. Punched in her eye, so she really couldn't see nothing. So she trying to keep him from punching me, because she know he's angry and he's about to do that. And she called him by his name and told him don't hit her. She let's just put on punishment, this, that, and the other. And she's saying whatever she has to say. I feel like it's survival. She's just trying to be in survival mode for both of us. The other kids were in the home, but I believe they were in the back. But to my knowledge, I don't remember anybody else being around, because nobody came. Because usually when something happened, we would run and peek out the door and look through that mirror. It was a mirror in the hallway where you could see everything. If you look from your door, you could see everything that's happening in the living room. So then he pushes me back down on the floor and say, you lucky, and I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna fix you. And he tells me to get up and go ahead and go in my room. Get out of here. Get the F out of here. All this kind of stuff. I couldn't even, because when he pushed me back down, I fell on my back and my butt. I couldn't even use my arms to get up. Like, I was so weak and hurt. And from him stepping on my hand and stepping on me. And I thought I was dying, y'all. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. Which is why it took me so long to join the gym when I got older, because I was like, I hate exercise. I hate because all of that was childhood trauma. I got it all out, y'all. I'm so much better. I am a member of Planet Fitness, so I do go to the gym. But I had to get over those things that triggered me from when I was a kid, the things that he had installed and did. So anyway, I tried to get up, and I had to roll over on my front and use my elbows, and that hurted so bad. So I finally got up. I went in the room, and of course, he smacked her around a couple of times and kicked her in her butt and told her to go in the room. Then he got his little drink and sat up there, and he was hollering and cursing and all of that, arguing by himself to the back. And she goes in her room, and he tells her to close the door. She closed the door. He tells us to close the door, so I close the door. And I'm sitting there crying, and I'm just sitting up here like, I don't believe this has happened. I can't believe that I went to school to get help and didn't get help. So all that taught me was to keep my mouth shut, even when you're telling the truth. when people call you a liar, when people accuse you and say you did things you did, don't say nothing, because if you do, it's just going to get you in trouble. It's going to either get people arguing or somebody get into a fight. So don't say nothing. And I grew up like that. And I'm not saying it's good, because if I can help you with a side note, in your adulthood, when you don't deal with your childhood traumas from the past, they come up in your adulthood. And they cause issues, ways, and anxieties within you. And you probably don't even know why you're like that. You probably can't even equate it back to your childhood or a trauma that you've had in the past. And so you don't even know why you're like that. And then other people view you as certain things, and they label you as certain things without even understanding why you're the way you are. Not saying that it's correct. I'm never saying it's correct. But you've never dealt with it. So when you don't deal with it, you don't know how to deal with it. You don't know how to deal with people, or you don't know how to, you just don't know how to deal with it, or verbalize it, or express yourself in certain ways, because you have pushed this stuff down for so long and internalized it, and it caused your brain to turn off, or it caused something in you to turn off, and you don't really know how to socialize with others. And in the midst of me learning that lesson, that really wasn't a good lesson for me to learn, to be quiet and shut up and never tell the truth and don't open my mouth, hence is to why I kept my mouth closed for so long and didn't say anything, because I always thought telling is going to get my mama beat or killed. It's going to get us beat, or I can't say that word. You can't say great, or molested, or abused, or lined up against the wall and played Russian roulette on whenever he felt like it. Like, I felt like I couldn't say a word. And that part of me was fighting against the part of me that had the big imagination, that felt like you keep telling it until somebody hear you. Like, I always had it in me to tell it, say something, and I always wanted to do it. But for some reason, I didn't, because I was always concerned about somebody else's feelings and what they would go through, or how they, and that was my mom. And so when you grow up with that, you tend to live a life where you are always, you're never able to express yourself. You're always to yourself. You're an introvert. You're always doing things, and you're caring about other people's emotions and feelings, and not your own. So you just don't verbalize anything. Well, my brother, my sister, beloved, let me help you out. Let me give you some advice. Deal with your childhood traumas before they deal with you. You don't want to grow up as an adult and have issues where you can't figure your life out. You can't verbalize what you're trying to say. Because I do. I have issues, and I'm learning how to verbalize things. I don't know all the right words to say, or eloquent speech, as they say. I have to stop. Like, y'all see me do that, stop and pause. I have to think about what I'm finna say, or how I'm gonna say it, because I'm always thinking about what I'm saying, if it's gonna hurt somebody, or if it's gonna cause somebody some pain. And I don't want to do that. So that came from that era of my life, not facing it on. And as a kid, you can't face it. You're against this big old man and these adults, and it also taught me, don't trust adults. I know that's not true. But at that time, I couldn't trust anymore. I went to the school, and I told the principal and the teacher, and they bought the story that was given to them, and they called me a liar, and they believed that. And from that point on, all I knew is I couldn't trust no adult, so I didn't tell no adult. And that's not good, because we have young people out here who want to tell, but they can't, because either that man or that woman, because it don't always be stepdads, it stepmoms, can make these kids feel like they're liars. They have vivid imaginations, and they don't tell the truth. They imagine things, and they make them feel like, they make them feel low. I just felt really low, and I was always checking myself. Oh, am I a liar? Like, did I make that up? I saw what I saw, And there are people out here who make these kids feel like that, and now they can't tell anybody, and so they go through their life getting those situations done to them and things happening to them, and they can't trust anybody. Or that predator or that person in their home has made them feel like, you bet not tell. You bet not say a word. If you do, I'm going to do this to her. I'm going to do this to him, or I'm going to hurt somebody you love. And then that's manipulation, because it causes that child to feel like now they got to take on a responsibility that's not theirs, like I did. And I have to be concerned about the life of somebody else, which was my whole life. I was so concerned about my mom's life that I just took whatever, because I didn't want her to get killed in any sense. So I want to encourage somebody out there today that may be dealing with a similar situation, maybe not like mine. It may not have went like any of the testimonies that I've given so far, and there are plenty more. And I just want to encourage you, if you are in that situation, don't call your kid a liar. And if your kid come to you and tell you something, believe them. Listen to them. It may not be nobody in a home. It may be somebody at the school. It may be another kid that's older than them. It may be a neighbor, a friend's dad or uncle, anything. Because I had all type of men groping and doing things to me, all from that situation, and all that's coming up. I promise I got some stuff. And this is not my way of freeing myself and telling this so people can feel sorry. I don't want nobody to feel sorry for me. This is helping somebody, believe it or not. I'm telling it because I want somebody to be free today. I want you to free yourself from the guilt. I want you to listen to your kids when they tell you stuff. Don't always think they're telling a story. Don't always think they're lying. They may not know how to verbalize it. And if you run into a child who is quiet, they're introverted, they're to themselves, they don't want to be bothered, that child going through something. Somebody messing with that kid, somebody touching on them, somebody verbally abusing them, somebody is making them do something they don't want to do, and they don't know how to say it because they're scared for somebody else. They're caring for the life of somebody else. Take the time, beloved, to listen. Help these kids that need help. Pray for them. Take situations when people come to you. I'm always looking, and I'm telling you, my neighbors, anybody, I'm paying attention. I'm looking at kids that are like that because all I see is myself. And I know I was going through something, so maybe that kid going through something, and it may not be true, but I treat all kids well, and that's probably why I love kids, because I went through a hardship as a kid. But anyway, back to my encouragement to you. I just want to encourage you to go get some help. Talk to somebody. If you have not dealt with your childhood trauma, there are all kind of numbers out here where we can go get some help. Go get some help. Talk to somebody. If you are in Christ and you feel that it's too embarrassing to talk to somebody, talk to your daddy. Talk to your Heavenly Father, because I guarantee He's there for you. He says in His word, casting all your cares on me, for I care for you. That's 1 Peter 5:7. I used to hear people say cast. It says casting. That means continuously, over and over and over and over again. As many times as you got to cast them. God is not the type of God who says, I'm sick of you coming to me with this. You should be healed from that by now. You should be delivered from that by now. That's not my daddy. That's not the kind of God I serve. And that is not what He does to me. As many times as a situation, whatever it is, comes up in my life, do you hear me, beloved? I can take that thing to my daddy over and over. Because look, Lord, this is too heavy for me. I can't carry it. I've been carrying it too long. And every time I think I'm over it, Lord, something triggers me, God. Something triggers me, Abba. Daddy, I need you. Come in right now. Free me from this. Deliver me from this. Help me with this. Every time I cast it over and over and over and over, He shows His love, His concern, and His care for me by healing, delivering, setting free. I used to not be able to talk about it. Even when I gave it in the testimony to help somebody, it was hard. It's still kind of hard because I don't know who I was watching, and frankly, I hope it helped somebody. But I used to not be able to talk about it. But since I've been counseling with the Father, along with the counselor He gave me here on earth, since I've been counseling with God and casting my cares on Him, 1 Peter 5:7, when I tell you I am free to talk about it without shedding a tear. I want to sometimes, but then again, I don't. I try my best to be strong. I know my Father cares for me because I can speak on it without hurt. I can speak on it without fretfulness. I can speak on it without stuttering when certain parts come up that I don't want to talk about. So my prayer for you, beloved. Oh my gosh, Robin, my time be going up and up every week, and I swear I try to keep it under 30 minutes, y'all, but sometimes I just can't help it. But I hope it helps somebody. So my prayer for you today, beloved, is that you will activate 1 Peter 5, chapter 5 and verse 7 in your life. Casting all your cares on him, for he cares for you. You could be a teenager, you could be a young adult, and you get a hold to this and you're watching this. Cast it on God. Give your life to him. Cast your cares on him over and over and over, as many times you got to, because he cares for you. He'll make that situation right. He'll fix it. He'll work it out for you. I guarantee he will. I pray that this testimony helped somebody today. Please don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel, my YouTube channel. View it as many times as you like to on Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok, and pass it along to somebody else you know that might need the encouragement, somebody that may be dealing with something and feel like they can't talk to anybody about it. That's what they're here for. They're not here for people to look at and laugh and talk about, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's sharing that. Oh my gosh, she's embarrassing her family and this and that. Look, that's why we so jacked up now, because we don't want to talk about stuff. People tell us to keep it in the home, and then we keep it in the home, and we keep it in our hearts, and we push it down, and we push it back, and we minimize that thing, and then it manifests itself in our adulthood. Stop doing that to yourself. Cast it. Give it to God. I pray it helps somebody today. Until next Tuesday, see you in the war room. God bless you.